A whole 1 minute? Good evening. My name is Gus Haddad, and I'm running for mayor. I respectfully request your vote in this upcoming election. I believe that I'm separated by the candidates because I'm the most qualified in terms of responsibility, leadership, and most importantly, transparency. I was the prior chair of the City of Plan Commission and also of the Bond Overview Advisory Committee. We executed on all $141,500,000 worth of projects, and I am the only candidate that can say, is that better? Yes. Got to start over again. And I'm the only candidate that can say that I have actually delivered on these projects. So on the $478 million that you voted for, you have a candidate with experience who has done this. I am the only person who has gone to the community and transparently requested that we have a community dialogue, both as chair of the Plan Commission as well as the Advisory Committee.
Mr. Haddad, I am going to ask you a question. You'll have 1 minute to answer. Matt will ask you a question, and then you'll have a minute to answer. You'll have a minute to answer the third question, and then when it comes back to me, the last question you'll answer, you'll have 2 minutes. Okay? The first question is, it's a statement and a question. Name the pros and cons of a city government run with a city manager, and do you plan to change the structure of our city government?
My answer is the pros are absolute continuity. And I think continuity is good for a city our size. Most importantly, though, the con is that this council has demonstrated that they do not know how to manage personnel. There's not too many people on this council who have ever been employed in their own business, have ever written a check, have ever hired anybody, and most importantly, I am that candidate that has the experience over the past 30 years in El Paso's business to be able to rein in city government.
Thank you very much, Mr. Haddad. The recent debate over immigration reform has brought up the question of border security. In your opinion, is our border with Mexico secure? And how would you, as mayor, advise lawmakers in Washington to proceed?
I do believe that our border is secure. Most importantly, I think the answer to that is in finding a way that our immigrants can find a path to citizenship through employment rather than just through tenancy here in the United States. We need to find a way to increase our border traffic, our freight traffic, and we need to find a way to increase the number of crossings that we're able to provide so that our international business, which is the largest in the world, can be expanded. So the answer is a path to citizenship through responsible economic development and jobs for those citizens who have been here.
Good evening, Mr. Haddad. El Paso has earned the distinction of being named the safest city in the United States for the past 3 years. The El Paso Firemen and Policemen's Pension Fund is now facing a $270 million shortfall. As mayor, what steps would you take to address this issue, and would you support an increase of the city's contribution to that fund?
I think the truth of the matter is, and this is very, very kind of a hidden situation with the police and fire pension fund, that fund was never capitalized correctly. From the beginning, that fund was doomed to failure for the future. The question of the $270 million that it's underfunded right now goes to the fact that 4 years ago, I believe, we issued $200 million worth of certificates of obligation to bring the pension plan up to snuff. The real answer to pension reform for the police and fire folks is to find out what is the systemic problem. Is it mismanagement? Is it not investing correctly? Or is it just the fact that we have too many people being retired and on those benefits?
10 seconds.
10 seconds to finish. That question?
Yes.
Okay. And so the answer is we have to study this situation. Rather than just throwing money at a situation and knowing that it's going to recur, we need somebody who knows how to study what's happening in our city government. And with the pension fund, most importantly.
question one more time. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. The ballpark is coming,
Yes.
and so
What we'd like to know is what is your personal commitment to make the full extent of the development expectation a realization to the citizens of El Paso?
Laura, would you mind defining development expectation?
The development expectation is that within what we as citizens have been fed is that the ballpark is supposed to bring all sorts of development. I very specifically left the question somewhat ambiguous because I wanted very individual answers because all of the candidates come from such diverse backgrounds that I didn't want to pigeonhole the answer. So when I said development expectation, it was ambiguous on purpose.
Sure, thank you. I'm happy to answer that. It seems to me that we're going to have a ballpark. And the answer is that we need to make it the best ballpark and best facility that we can. We need to be behind it. It is a fait accompli. We all have to quit hoping for a better past. This is going to happen. So what we need to do is make it the best venue that we possibly can. Now, the real issue with this venue is what is the long-term cost of this venue? What is the long-term cost that actually is supposedly a $50 million investment? Right off the bat, you may recall that the city building and Insights, which has been torn down already, is a $15 million valuation, or $3 million an acre. I suggest to you that you as citizens of El Paso have already invested $15 million in this project, which is moved from the asset page of the balance sheet, and it's disappeared. We just gave it away. Now, that being said, was this studied correctly? No, it wasn't studied correctly. What are the long-term effects of moving the city government into 3 buildings and then winding up in another building probably in 4 years? That's going to be we are already on the path to $100 million on just those buildings. So the answer is, for the venue of the ballpark, we need to make it the best venue we possibly can so that we do give economic development an opportunity to happen downtown.
you have 1 minute to close.
1 minute. Okay. Thank you all very much for hosting this. And I do appreciate and I do respectfully ask for your vote. I do believe, and I think most people will understand once they see my platform and once they understand my resume, that I am the most qualified, experienced candidate to be able to move this city into a positive direction. That direction needs to be, at the same time, we're hearing that $478 million is going to provide economic development and opportunities for jobs. My question is, what happened in the year 2000? What happened to those jobs? How many jobs have been created? The package was sold with the same thing, that we needed to have improvement in quality of life to provide economic development. As your mayor, economic development from within as well as from without will be the highest priority of my administration. Thank you all, and I ask for your vote.
Do we get to stay or leave? Do whatever.